Well, it's had an enormous effect on my life because I've played football all my life and been involved around football clubs all my life, or just really around the Richmond Football Club. Apart from the Richmond Football Club, the only club I was ever involved with was Tri-Boy Society, and I was 13 years of age. So I walked down to the club, knocked on the door as about a 14-year-old, said I wanted to play with the under-17s, and so I started with the under-17s that year, went through the under-19s, and then of course went through and played in the seniors. So all of my friends, I suppose, and all the influences that I've had on my life have actually come through playing football. And even today, what I do today in terms of being a breakfast presenter, you know, that opportunity only came to me because of being a footballer and playing in finals and playing over a long career, and it gave me the opportunity, the doors opened up for me to get involved in the media, which I did with Channel 7 and also with 3UZ in those days, and it all started from there. But that would have been a lot harder for me to achieve if I hadn't have played football.
It's an amazing impact. I mean, I came over from Tassie, and if I wasn't for football, I'd still be home in Tassie, probably cutting wood with Dad, you know. That's basically how that's the difference it's had on my life. You know, like, you know, I had 13 years of this footy club, and it's just made a heck of a difference to us. As myself as a person, you know, what Richmond Footy Club means to me. And, you know, I mean, in business, I obviously work fairly hard and try and make a quid, you know. I think, you know, the people you meet around a footy club makes you do that, so. Oh, well, it certainly gave me a lot of confidence, as in work, approach to people, gets you in the door, I mean, in the car industry, and certainly helps you with cars, of course. So I reckon it certainly helps confidence-wise.
Had a lot of impact. Probably I've come from Richmond, and when you're a Richmond boy, when you were young, it was your ideal thing that could ever happen to you was just to play for Richmond, and probably, you know, when you look at, say, your life, you're sort of just a plumber by trade, and the fact it's been able to actually sort of give me, or say, the contacts, and which I possibly wouldn't have had in my working days as just a normal plumber. The people you meet, and the opportunities you get to go places, and the different people you even meet, you know, different personalities is a great thing, and it's still happening even this day, because when you say you have become reasonably successful in your career, people possibly still want to know you, and you still get a mention every now and again. It's always probably, everybody's got egos, and I've got an ego, I think, and it's still nice to be recognised, and possibly if we hadn't have had success, that might not have happened. Yes.
From 15, when I first came down to Richmond, to now 53, so what, that's 38 years or something, in one way or another I've probably been involved in football. Playing here, coaching here, being on the committee here, coaching in the amateurs, being on the tribunal, the appeals board. I mean, it's sort of part of the absolute fabric of your life. And my professional life as a lawyer, it's therefore translated over into that. I mean, I couldn't separate it out from the whole of my life. Been a part of it the whole time.
Oh, a major impact. It's something, as a kid, I just loved playing footy, and growing up and playing in junior ranks, I never really thought I was going to aspire to any greatness at all, but because of my size, I was just a skinny kid at school, but as I grew a bit and filled out a bit, the possibilities became apparent, I suppose, and you know, I was able to take the next step, which I'm very pleased I did.
Well, it has been my whole life, really. Look, it's one of those things where when you come from a small country town, you look on the TV and you see all the players playing, you never think you're going to make it, but when you actually get down here and get amongst the feeling, it was a fantastic feeling. I was lucky enough to play 16, 17 years at this fantastic club, and it was virtually most of my life. I left when I was 34, got here at 17, so half my life I spent here.
Well, if you play a sport, or if you make documentaries or films, you want to be the best at what you can be. And no matter how good you are, unless you can actually take centre stage unless you can actually be there in the last day in September, if you can play the finals, you can enhance your reputation. Because what happens during the course of a football season or a football career is that it's all well and good to play home and away games throughout the course of the season. But what most people want to see is to see you when the colours are up and the prize is there to be won. And that's what happens when you get to a grand final. When you come up against the best players on one given day, at one given moment in time, when you're expected to produce your best. And that's not easy, but it's a fantastic challenge to put yourself and pitch yourself against the best the opposition can actually put up. And that's when you've got to grab that opportunity, because the group of players that you're with at that particular point of time may not be there next year. In fact, the chances of them being there next year is very, very slim. And you have all these great friends and in the great camaraderie, and you train all year, and you have this great feeling amongst one another. If you can take it that next step and achieve something like winning a premiership, that stays with you forever. No one can ever take that away. And Wayne Grady said when he won the USPGA, he stood there with the trophy in his hand, the Wanamaker Trophy it's called, and it had all the great names on it, you know, Jack Nicklaus and, you know, Sam Sneads and all that sort of stuff, Arnold Palmer's. And he was rubbing it and polishing it. And he said, no matter how hard they ever polish this trophy, they will never erase my name. And that's the same thing with winning a final and winning a premiership, that it's there forever.
Stephen Mount played 32 games for the Richmond Football Club. One of them was a premiership. They all know Stephen Mount. He just went away after, he didn't do too much after we won it, but he's still a premiership player, and all the Richmond people know who Stephen Mount is. There will be a lot of players that played 30 odd games that no one would know. And that's what it's all about. It's actually the people, you're up there, you're on the honour board saying, well, hang on, this person was good enough to play in a premiership side, which is the ultimate in the AFL.
You're known as a fellow that's achieved something, achieved a final. To win a grand final is something that, I mean, you achieve it for yourself, you achieve it for your family, you achieve it for for the supporters. And that's what it's all about, to be seen as a successful person, and I think that's fantastic. Yeah.
When it happened, it was very important, because when I played, we were always focused on playing in the finals. Our whole aim all year, every year, was in fact to win the premiership. That's what we talked about, that's what we aimed to achieve. And so when, on the occasions that we won the premiership, it was enormously satisfying. In fact, probably unique in your life. There's very few things in your life where you set yourself a goal and you absolutely achieve the goal and there are no loose ends. And winning premierships, there are no loose ends. For the whole of a year, in our case back then, probably starting in January, working through till the end of September, all focus was win the premiership. And on the occasions when we did, it was, we completed the circle. You could do no more. So it was fantastic.
Meeting a lot of people, meeting a lot of very influential people, opened a lot of doors, business and that sort of thing. Lifelong friendships, because of success, I guess. You tend to have more reunions and that sort of thing. So, yeah, just lifelong friendships. The club has been very good to us. The Richmond Football Club, to be there at that time when it was in its halcyon days with success was very important. Probably 12 years I spent at Richmond would be the best 12 years of my life, no doubt.
In hindsight, one of the really good things about it is, I've got many good friends who were people I played footy with, and I see players of other clubs of my era who didn't have success, and they don't seem to have the friendships with their former teammates that we have, and I'm sure it's because they didn't have the success. The success keeps us together. The club puts on reunions, individual people put on reunions, we attend functions together, and it's all because we had success. We've got something worth remembering and celebrating. It brings us together and holds us together. So it does go on. And the friendships and the closeness with people and the shared experiences and then the shared success are probably the best memories that I would take out of football.
Well, I think you've got to grab opportunities when they're there. In 1967, which is my first year of finals playing for the Tigers, I started in 65, and Richmond at that stage was a club that was down and out, had been down for many, many years. In fact, Richmond hadn't played in the finals since 1944 and hadn't won a grand final since 1943. So come 1967, here's the Richmond Football Club playing in the finals for the very first time. Now, you can imagine just the excitement that was around the place in those days. There'd been something like 23 years of non-success. Probably at the time, a lot of us don't realise it until we get older, so therefore you have to explain to people why you've got to grab the opportunity whilst it's there. There were some older players at the club in those days. You had Roger Dean, Paddy Ganane, Mike Patterson, Neville Crowe, Alan Richardson, Fred Swift, who had played their whole careers at Richmond through very poor times. And in fact, in speaking to Roger Dean during that period of time, he said not once in his career did he think that the Tigers would ever play in the finals. He used to just turn up year after year, go through the season, they'd play 18 games and then they'd take a break, go and watch other sides play in the finals, and next year you'd turn up and you would do it all again.
Oh, very much important. Once again, I started Richmond in 57, and for 10 years I had to sort of, well, it was almost like a stigma. I really felt that people would ask you sometimes, now you play for, who do you play for? Richmond. And you could almost sort of feel that, well, you know, hey, anybody can play for Richmond. I sort of, we used to be second last and last every year for about 10 years, and without any thought of ever making the finals. You know, sort of, it was just one of those things. That was for the other sides. And then finally, when you do make it, yeah, it sort of it changes everything around. Sometimes they don't know you still these days, but you've only got to mention you play in finals, and hey, you know, I've just got to mention Sheedy or Dickie Clay and Kevin Bartlett, and they say, oh, crikey, you play with those blokes, you know, and all of a sudden you know that they start to think, hey, maybe this chap could have played football, maybe. But I'm sure if we hadn't have won finals, it wouldn't not have been like that at all. It would have been just a play for Richmond at some time during his career. Yeah.
I think everybody, I mean, I can remember thinking when I was a player, and I hope our players now think this, I remember thinking when I'm probably in my mid-20s, I would hate to get to my 40s or my 50s and regret that I hadn't given it my best shot. In many ways, it's not so much about winning and losing premierships, it's about giving it your best shot, because that's all success is. No one can do better than their best. Success, actually, I don't think is winning the premiership. Success is giving it your very best shot. And if you give it your very best shot, win or lose, you've got to be satisfied, because you know you could do no more. I think it would be very, very dissatisfying and even create sort of internal unhappiness in people if they look back and think, by gee, in the year 2001, I reckon I could have given it a better go. But if I had given it a better go, I would have played better and maybe we would have made the finals and maybe we could have won it. You wouldn't want to carry that through the whole of your life.
You've got to make the most of the opportunities. I mean, because it might never happen again. And to me, it didn't happen again. I mean, 82, yes, we should have won the grand final. I believe we were the favourites. But unfortunately, we got beat. And I never played in another final series. So I think to everybody, you know, you've got to make the most of your opportunities, because it mightn't happen again. And we were said to be the team of the 80s, that Richmond were going to be a strength. And unfortunately, our team, you know, guys retired, guys left the club, and it never happened again. So I just think you've got to make the most of your opportunities, because in my case, it never happened again.
I've always thought personal pride takes a big part in it. You've got this little guy on your shoulder, and he's personal pride, and he's sort of saying, look, you know, don't let yourself down, don't let your teammates down, and don't let the club down. And that personal pride makes you attack the footy. It makes you defend when you have to defend, or punch from behind when you have to punch from behind. But all in all, he's the one. I mean, you look at yourself in the mirror every day and you think you're the best. So when you get out in that ground in front of 100,000 people, you've got to prove to yourself and to those people that come along to watch you that you're entitled to be there. And by being one of the team, by making your personal contribution, the team will do better.
You won't achieve anything unless you're going to pay some sort of price. You've always got to do the best thing by the team, also the best thing by your teammates all the time. And it's got to be all-encompassing. You've got to want to play. There's no shortcuts. You've got to want to play. Every time you step out on the field, you want to be the best man on the ground for a start. Because if you're the best player on the ground, therefore you've got to be a big advantage to your side. And I know when I played, I used to get up in the morning. I couldn't wait till I had my breakfast. I couldn't wait till the clock came around that I could jump into the car or pack the bag. I couldn't wait to get to the ground. Couldn't wait for the reserves to finish. I couldn't wait for the siren to sound, because I wanted to play. And you've got to want that. You've got to be enthusiastic. That you want to test yourself all the time. You want to get out there, and you want to be able to do the things that you know that you can actually do, and that gives you a great deal of enjoyment, actually pitting your skills against somebody else's skills. That's what I think competing is all about. You've got to want to compete, and if people don't want to compete, well then they should do something else.
I felt every game I went out, I've probably said this to different players at different times, that I wanted to be best on the ground. I was foremost and utmost. I mean, my greatest forte I'd like to be looked at is to be a team. It was my team, the way I play for the team, for the team. But I still had that once I could, and the ego came in. Even I wanted to be best man on the ground. Every time I went out, and so by being best man on the ground, I could still play for the team, and hopefully the team would win. So, sort of we really had to you really got to have that ego in you to want to win at all costs, and that's all you can do. And I think if you've got 18, 20 players, 22 these days maybe, out there with that same desire that they want to be best, want to be the best team man. And I mean, hopefully it'll all come together.
The pre-season trainings, I put it down to, because that's where the only reason you play league footy is to play in the finals, and that's what it's all about. You know, you can be the best player and do all that kind of stuff, but not to play in the final series. That's what it's all about, and you've got to take the chance if it comes up, and you've got to give yourself everything. You know, I remember in 1980, it was only my third year playing here, but it wouldn't have mattered who. It was just that feeling that it didn't matter who was in front of us, we were never ever going to get beaten on any certain day. And come the grand final, it wouldn't matter who we played. There was not anyone going to beat us. And you think that's going to happen for the rest of your life, and things change, players move and so forth. And as I said, we played off in the 82 one, but and didn't win it. Then from then, another 11 and 12 pre-season trainings, did not once play in the finals, and that's probably the hardest thing, to realise that, hang on, we thought we were going to be in another era from 67, 69 when they won them, and 73, 74, but just didn't happen. So you really got to grasp it when it's there.
Yeah, it was just like being on top of Mount Everest. It's just the highest thrill, the highest accolades you could get is to be part of a winning team. I think Percy Cerruti once said it's the best thing you can do in your life is to be part of a winning team, where you've gone through all the home and home games, all the training, all the mud and slush, and to achieve final victory is a very special thing to do. And of course at Richmond I was lucky enough to do it 4 times, and that is very, very special, and I hope the young fellas can sort of aspire to that sort of thing, because it's there, and it doesn't come around very often. As I was talking about the 24-year lapse last time, and when we look at it now, it's 24 years nearly since that's happened.
You could see it in the blokes' faces, the intensity was there. Even the last couple of minutes of the game, the intensity was still there, and it was just, and after the game, it's just the euphoric. Like, you get out there and you see that there's 113,000 people there, and it was just a fantastic feeling, and you look at each other after, when you settle down, and you have a couple of days later when you can actually sit down and have a good sit down, have a relaxing, celebratory drink with the blokes. You can actually say, well, you think about all the hard work that you did to get there. That was the bottom line, you just don't turn up and win a premiership. You're actually the hard jacket, and that's what, you look at all the time, you say, well, okay, you do all this pre-season training and you bust your guts out and you spew it and you do all this kind of stuff, but the ultimate reward is to win a premiership, and never ever get away from the fact is you've got to do all that hard yakka to get there, and that's what I think in 80 and 82 when we had two pretty good years, that was all, what it was all about. You know, we believed that, hang on a minute, we were good enough, but shit, we've done all this work, don't let it slip.
Even though I was captain in '69, the first final was the greatest, because playing 10 years, as I say, and not ever making the finals, and to make it and then achieve that in the same year, I can always remember sort of, it was like an electric shock going through me when that siren went, and it was like an electric shock went through me. I just couldn't really come to grips with it that we'd won. And when it did, I kept on thinking, doesn't matter what happens for the rest of my life, I've won a grand final, and that's all that really matters. It doesn't matter if I break my leg next year and don't ever play again. I've won that grand, and they can't take it away from me. And it was such a fantastic feeling, yes.
Look, players naturally are remembered for winning Brownlow medals, but it's amazing the respect that you do get when they know that you've been in that particular Richmond era, which was so successful. Yeah, it does. I've been to several functions where modern day players have been there, but because we did what we did during that era, players or people, the supporters, are very willing to want to come and talk to you and get autographs and that sort of thing, because that's history. We've made that history. Now it's the time for these young fellas to make their own history and to aspire to do what those players of the past have done. Yeah, it's very important.
I mean, I think I look back on the records. I'm very big on keeping records of the footy club and things like that. And you look back, and the best players in Richmond's final series in the 5 finals that I can remember. Kevin Bartlett's name always pops up. Francis Burke's name pops up as the best player. Royce Hart, great finals player. I mean, those things do mean a lot to people. I suppose to be known as a premiership player at Richmond Footy Club is what it's all about. And people will always remember Michael Roach as a premiership player at Richmond Footy Club. And, it was only one, but that's it. That was it. And unfortunately, it was only one, but I'll be remembered as a premiership player at Richmond Footy Club.
People gauge everything on, I think, on finals. I remember Bobby Skilton, I think he won 3 Brownlows, Bobby, and he'd swap those 3. And I'm sure it wouldn't be just saying this for just something to say. That he would gladly swap it for a cup or to play in a grand final. And so that's what it all comes down to. Your whole season is just based on playing in the grand final and winning a grand final. And if that doesn't happen, it seems such a long time to wait till the year after. You think, oh geez, now we've got to wait till the whole 6 months before it all starts again before we can then try to achieve something. But once again, it's such a rare thing, but there's so many good sides out there, and to achieve that is such a great effort these days.
I'll tell you a story. Len Thompson, in 1966, was a superstar young player, burst onto the scene. And I was speaking to Len about this, and he said to me, they got beaten by St Kilda by a point. Now, Len, I suppose, was a bit like a Josh Fraser of today, but he was the first of the tall players who had athletic ability, could run and kick and bend over. He was a phenomenon, and he was fantastic during the final series. They lost by 1 point to St Kilda. He said it didn't really have a great impact on him because he's only 19 years of age. He's a young superstar. He's playing at Collingwood, one of the greatest clubs in the competition. Got a long career in front of me, plenty of premierships. Story is, of course, Len played over 300 games, won 5 Copeland trophies, captain of Collingwood, played for Victoria, and is universally regarded as one of the greatest ruckmen of all time. But the closest he ever got to winning a premiership was at 1 point in 1966, and a drawn grand final, of course, in 1977. But he never won a premiership. So if you don't grab the opportunity when it's there and then, don't take it for granted that it will be there next year or the year after that. In fact, you may play another 15 years and you will not achieve one premiership.
I can remember actually playing on a Carlton player one day, and we'd we got to a stage where we were going to win, and he said to me, he says, "Oh well, it's only a game." And I said, "Yeah, I agree with him," but I didn't really agree with him. I just wanted him to think that way. But I thought, I cannot believe that a player actually said to me, "It's only a game." I said, "Oh, what a lot of rubbish! It's not a game. It's it's everything."
What I might do is tell a little story which may be of help, may not, but I'll tell it as a story. About how I played and the strategy I used to play in finals. When I first had to play in finals, I was young and I was our only ruckman, and it had the potential to be overwhelming. And I worked out a strategy, and the strategy was that success was not about winning or losing or playing well. Success was about doing my very best on every occasion. And I thought, if I can do my very best on every occasion, and the ball is in my region, to win the ball or to do what I should do within the team rules, well then, win or lose, whether I play well or otherwise, I will have been successful. And I will be able to look at myself in the mirror after the game and know that I've been successful by giving my best on every occasion. What I used to do as a strategy for myself, in that little room where Tommy used to talk to us, and I assume Danny speaks to you in that same little room with the blackboard on the wall, when we sat in that room and went through the game preparation, I would make a promise, mental, just to myself, my teammates wouldn't know, to each one of my teammates sitting in the room, that on every occasion throughout the game I would do my very best in every circumstance I found myself. And it was a personal promise to each of my teammates in the room. Because I thought it was too long to try to carry that out for 2.5 hours, whatever a game takes, I used to do it quarter by quarter. I'd do it in that little room at the start of the game. Come quarter time, I'd sort of wipe the slate clean in my own mind, start again, make that commitment again for the next quarter, and then the same at half time and the same at 3/4 time, because I thought it was too hard to think, I'll do my very best, I won't take a physical or a mental backward step for 2.5 hours. But to break it down into blocks of 30 minutes, that you can cope with. And so every 30 minutes I'd make a new commitment to there were 19 teammates in those days, to my 19 teammates, not to let them down on any occasion during the next 30 minutes. And that was a strategy which worked for me and helped me play in finals, and obviously helps in every situation. It may be of some help to you.
Yeah, fellas, give it your best shot. You're only here once. You've only got one crack at it. Make the most of your opportunities. Aspire to be as good as you can be in the position you're in, or as a team member. Try to do things to the best of your ability. Don't stray from your focus. Be focused all the time. Concentrate at all times when you're on the field. Concentrate on beating your immediate opponent. Concentrate on your skills. Remember that the team that makes the lesson out of skill errors usually is the team that wins, and the team that has more players around the ball than the opposition is usually the team that wins as well. So, for your own well-being, just give it your very, very best shot, and good luck to you.
Oh, well, guys, you just got to make the most of your opportunities, because, as I said in the interview, that I thought I'd play in more premierships because we were a very, very good side, but unfortunately I didn't, and you got to make the most of what you got. You've got a very good team. If you team well together, you never know what can happen, and all I can say is good luck for the finals, and I'm sure you'll give it your best shot.
Look, the thing about playing league footy is that it's about, you can't do it individually. You've got to do it as a team, and you've got to have everyone in the side pulling the same way. You can't have anyone, no one, wanting to do their own thing. And I think it's important that you realise that if we're going to be successful, you as a group going to be successful, and turn around playing a final series for the first time since '95, is that don't give let any stone unturned. Make sure that you go out on that ground every week, and I mean every week, not just here, there, have a good win and then just think, oh, it's going to come easy. I mean every week, and realise that this is it. I take it, play it as your last game. And if you do that, the results will look after itself. And you'll enjoy it so much more because you know you've given it everything, everything you can actually give, and that's when you become a fair income red hot player. Not because you've got the awards and everything, but you're a part of a side that is successful. And that's the only reason you're here at the Richmond Football Club, to be a successful side, not a great individual. Best of luck for the future, fellas.
Look, the worst thing that ever happened to me was in '73, and that was I had to retire, and I captained the second 18 grand final. I missed out on being picked in the grand final side, which really hurt me. I mean, I really didn't want to play in the second 18 grand final. Sounds good, people think, oh, it's great to be captain, but all that mattered to me, I wanted to be in the grand final side, and that was even, I can still feel sad about that. So it still affects you later on in life, and so later on in life, if you haven't played in one, it's something you've sort of missed out on. But I know that is a very hard thing to say because it only happens to one side. But that's the worst thing that ever happened to me is retiring and not playing in that grand final. And I know, so I never grabbed the opportunity. Maybe I felt I was playing well enough, but I wasn't. But I would have loved to have been there in that grand final, and I've missed an opportunity. So if you can get that opportunity to play even just one grand final, so geez, grab it there and give it all your most. Yes.
Well, it's important simply because you may not be sitting there the next time the Tigers have an opportunity. You're at a situation now where you are within arm's reach of winning a premiership. Got some fantastic players down there at Tigerland. You've got some good experienced players. You've got some young players coming through. It's a pretty exciting time. But there's been a lot of clubs who have had exciting times. And if you don't grab it now, it may not be there next time. Look around and see all your great friends who are sitting beside you at the moment. Wouldn't it be just terrific if all of you together over the next few weeks could climb that mountain that the last Richmond side climbed some 21 years ago? It's there for the taking. All you have to do is want it badly. Reach out and grab it, leave no stone unturned, and make certain that you give it absolutely your best shot. Not your second best shot or your third best shot, but your best shot. And if you do that, you might be like Wayne Grady. No matter how hard they ever rub that premiership cup, they'll never ever take the name of the Richmond Football Club off it, and your name as well.